Hello, this is Idodmg and welcome back to the channel. In this Magic Legends video, I want to talk to you about Ordeals and the Endgame. Magic Legends is a free-to-play MMO action RPG that came out into open beta on Tuesday, March 23rd, 2021. You can pick it up on the Epic Games Store as well as the ARC launcher. That's ARC launcher. I will also have the website for the game in the description down below, along with all the timestamps. In this video, I want to talk about the ordeals in the game. I want to talk about what they are, why you should care about them, and some strategies that are involved. There are a total of 10 ordeals or endgame dungeons in the game. They happen throughout the story as well, but then they can be replayed once you've reached level 30 on higher difficulties. But I want to talk about each ordeal and how they're unique and provide you with some insight of which ones I do and don't recommend that you spend your time playing. I'm going to try my best to keep this video short just for you, but for your convenience, I will have the timestamps down below for each of the ordeals and notes. So if there's a specific ordeal you're wanting to know about, you can just jump right to it in the video. I hope you appreciate that. Before we jump into the in-depth guide of ordeals, I want to talk about what they are and what makes them so special. Ordeals in the game are timed maps. You have a 10-minute timer and you have to earn points within these. The more points you earn, the more rewards you get at the end of the 10-minute run. Some of these have, after the 10 minutes, there's an additional boss that you can kill for a little bit extra loot. But the primary focus of each ordeal is min-maxing so you can get the most points within that time limit. Some of them have different mechanics that you need to know about. For instance, one is a tower defense type of map. One is going after different nodes and trying to fight back the monsters while then trying to defend a whole nother node all at the same time. So with that in mind, I do recommend trying to find at least one person to play these with, if not two. You can also matchmake the ordeals, but if you decide to matchmake, you will not be allowed to put on any regional enchants or world enchants. Regional enchants are based on that region. There's 5 regions within Magic Legends. You have one based off each color of mana. I'll have them down in the description as I mentioned, and we'll talk about each one as we go through. Each region has 2 different ordeals tied to them. And each region also has a specific regional enchant tied to it. So for example, Tazeem is going to have each ordeal. Each one of those will have the same regional modifier that you can turn on and off. If you're playing privately with a buddy and a group, pre-made group, you can enable that regional enchant. If you're matchmaking, you cannot have that enchant enabled. And the same is true for world enchants, which enhance the game further, enhance rewards while making the ordeal that much more challenging. That's pretty much ordeals and what they exactly are. Keep in mind, you don't need to run to them in the overworld. You can actually just open up your guide interface and click on whatever one you want to do and just enter from this menu. One last thing I want to talk about ordeals, and you might be wondering why you would want to run them. The number one reason is for those world enchants. They sell for a lot of gold and they're also really valuable. One thing to keep in mind if you're trying to figure out exactly which region you want to do and which hunt you want to do, keep in mind what I do is I look at the lowest amount of mana I have and then I go to that region just so I can build up that mana back. Another thing you can look at is you can look at the loot table and the tier rewards for each and see if there's something or a world enchant that you are specifically targeting. The very first region that I would like to talk about is Tazeem. This is the green magic plane, and there are 2 different ordeals tied to this. The very first one that I want to talk about and that you'll actually unlock in Tazeem is called Hedron Rush. Within Hedron Rush, there are different nodes that you have to defend that also rotate. You have to actually follow where they tell you to go to defend in order to get points within that location. You also have to kill monsters within the circle at that location or you will not get points. When you very first start out the mission, there will be an elite that you have. Don't worry about burning him down instantly. Make sure you kite him through to the actual objective area, the node that they're telling you to defend. And you can kind of cleave him down with the adds in there. And you'll probably have to kite him on to another node if you don't have enough damage. But that elite will follow you throughout the entire ordeal, and you'll eventually killing him, getting some bonus points. But the biggest thing to know in Hedron Rush is make sure you're killing monsters within the green circle. As soon as that green circle moves, drop what you're doing and go to the next area. Kill the mobs within the circle to get points. and you should have a pretty good time. I personally didn't mind doing this ordeal. I did find it annoying when they would switch nodes, and it was kind of hard. You really had to be looking for when they were switching nodes since the circle kind of blends in with the map. But if you're looking for it and you're paying attention to it, it's really not that bad. It's a reasonably fun ordeal. The next ordeal that takes place in Tazeem is called Surface Tensions. This one will start out with one node that has 3 mages defending it. You must kill all 3 mages at this one node to then be able to do the next objective, which is cleansing that area. This is another one where there's a green circle and you need to kill monsters within that green circle. Keep in mind, any kills that you get before killing these 3 mages that are channeling onto that node will not count towards the cleanse progression of the area. There's going to be 5 nodes total that spawn. It's going to start out with the 1, like I mentioned, and slowly ramp up to 2 and then 3. And then eventually there's going to be 5 different nodes that you have to run between and cleansing. Once you've fully cleansed one node, move on to the next. The middle node in the map seems to spawn a boss that, just like the other one I talked about, where just kind of kite it through as you go, and make sure the most important thing to get points here is to kill them in that green area. And once an area is fully cleansed, move on to the next and just keep rotating around. And another thing I want to point out here is if you're at a node and it needs to be cleansed, but there's no mobs there, don't just sit there and wait. You're going to be wasting time. Just go ahead and move on to the next node and rotate back to this one later throughout the ordeal. I found Surface Tensions to be easier than the first ordeal Hedron rush that I talked about, but just keep in mind it's definitely easier in a group. On to the red region. This is Shiv. This is the red mana plane, and there's another 2 ordeals here that you can do. The first one that you're going to encounter is called Against the Horde. Against the Horde is a wave-based ordeal where there's different waves, and the early waves will not last very long, and even as you progress through the waves, the waves are time-based. But as you progress, the waves will start to last a little bit longer, but never quite long enough. The way that this one works is each time a new wave spawns, there will pop up different goblin towers that you need to destroy in order to get a point multiplier. Here's the catch. You only get points when you kill an enemy. So the trick to this ordeal is make sure that you're getting kills while getting those multipliers. It's kind of hard to balance, but eventually you'll get the grasp of it. The thing that makes this a real challenge is each new wave resets the multiplier. So each new wave, you do need to go kill towers to get your point multiplier back up. Keep that in mind as you're going through this ordeal. This one, once you figure it out and kind of figure out your own pace, it can be a really rewarding and a really good ordeal to run. The map is basically a big circle, so you can just be circling around getting loot. And especially in co-op, if you're split up, you can just rotate and get the loot from each other. It's a really good map setup, but the objectives on this one can be a little bit tricky. At first, I found this ordeal to be rather annoying, but the more that I played it, the better I understood it, and I think the more I started to actually enjoy it in the end. One thing I want to point out, and one last tip I want to give for Against the Horde, is don't get tied up on killing towers. Remember, the towers do not give you points. They just give you a point multiplier. So if you're running out of time, it's a good idea to go and kill the monsters that you can before that timer runs out and your multiplier that you do have gets reset. Shiv offers a second ordeal, and this one is called Hunt for Vengeance. Hunt for Vengeance is one of the most annoying ordeals and probably one of my least favorite ordeals in the game. And here's why. What you have to do is you have to hunt different mobs. So it's going to pop up and it's going to say, go kill these Kovus or these earth elementals. And if you kill any other mobs that are not on the current hunt that you're on, you don't get any points. And the other thing that makes this one really annoying is the map is so big and spread out that you're often going to be running around just looking for monsters to kill, and it can be really frustrating at times. I have a feeling that once you play this one, and if you play it more and more, you'll start to figure out where each type of monster spawns so you can kind of plan your path more strategically. But starting out of the gate, I would definitely recommend to do Against the Horde over Hunt for Vengeance. That brings us to Tolaria. This is the blue mana region. This one has another 2 ordeals that you can do. The first one is called Dreadnaught Defense. This is probably one of my personal favorite ordeals within Magic Legends to do. It is an escort quest, which knee-jerk reaction is I hate escort missions. But the way it works is you jump in, and the first thing you have to do is kill this red electric elemental. Once you do destroy that, you get a red orb to then empower this Dreadnaught that you're going to be escorting through the map. This is a really key mechanic throughout this ordeal that you need to keep in mind. So basically the way that the whole thing goes is you have this Dreadnaught that has to destroy 3 sets of walls. But in between each wall, there's monsters that you have to kill to make sure that the Dreadnaught doesn't die. What makes this ordeal really fun and I think kind of interesting is as you go, there's going to be those red elemental spawns, like I mentioned, throughout the map. But what's special about it is while this Dreadnaught is fighting monsters and trying to destroy these walls, you can empower it to increase its move speed if it's running and also increase its damage and attack speed on the walls. So you want to make sure that you try to balance getting that red orb from those elemental lightning things and bringing that orb to the Dreadnaught while killing as many monsters as possible, because that is also how you get points. Once you make it through the 3 sets of walls, you then go into the last portion of this ordeal, and there's going to be juggernauts that spawn in that you have to kill. Killing these gets you even more points, and keep in mind in the very back last end of the room, there's actually another juggernaut that you can enable to help you out in the fight. Like I said, this is probably one of my personal favorite ones to do. I just liked the different ideas of fighting through and getting through and powering up this character to destroy these walls quicker. I really enjoyed Dreadnaught defense. The biggest tip I have here is, like I said, balance getting that orb and powering up the Dreadnaught while getting as many kills as possible. If you can fit Tornado into your deck so you can control your mobs and push them all towards one area that you're trying to go to, definitely a good strategy here. Tolaria has another ordeal, and this one is called Meltdown. This one is pretty fun. This one has you grabbing orbs that are color-coded based on the 5 planes of magic, and there's also 5 portals that these orbs correlate to. In the middle of the map, an orb will spawn. You have to grab that orb and run to the color that matches it to the portal to close the portal that's spawning mobs. Keep in mind, the way that you earn points on this mission is by killing monsters that spawn from the portals. So if you're closing the portals too early, you're not going to be getting points. But there's a whole nother thing here is you want to be pushing through and closing as many portals as quickly as you can, because this is how you're going to get to the next phase. Each time that you complete a phase by closing so many portals, you will, I think it's about every 5 phases, you spawn a boss, which gives you even more points. So what I do on this one is I grab the orb, I close those portals ASAP, but I don't skip monsters. If I see monsters on the way to the portal, I kill them. But I try to kind of be a little bit quick so that we can push through the phases. The most I've had is 2 monster phases, so that's 10. I think it ended up being 11 phases total. But if you're really quick, have really good damage, you can definitely get further than that. I really enjoyed playing Meltdown. I really liked that kind of that hustle feeling of having to grab that orb, get to the portal while killing the monsters, and then trying to phase through to get to that boss. I thought that Meltdown was up there with the Dreadnaught defense ordeal, honestly. And I even got a legendary artifact from this mission, so I know it was probably just pure RNG, but I thought that that was worth mentioning. On to Gavony. This is the black planar magic plane, and this one has the very first ordeal called Well of Souls. This one is one of the more interesting ones. I did enjoy it, and there's a lot of strategy that goes into it. Definitely try to bring a friend if you can. But the way that Well of Souls works is in the very middle of the map, there's going to be an amulet on this shrine-looking thing that you have to charge up. Once the amulet is charged, you can get points. This is the only way to get points in this mission is from that amulet. This is your ride or die. Do not ignore the amulet in the middle of this map. The way that you charge the amulet is there's 3 nodes around the map, and it's another one where you have to kill the monsters inside the node to then fill up the meter. When that meter is full, that will then channel into the amulet, and there's 3 nodes that you have to do this to. But once all 3 nodes have that meter filled up and they're channeling onto that amulet, you can then run to the amulet and get points and claim it. But where this ordeal gets interesting is about every 2 minutes, there's going to be a werewolf attack. These werewolves will come in and attack that object in the middle of the map, taking away points. So you need to be ready and anticipating when those werewolves are going to jump in and try to steal your really valuable points. I try to pre-position so that I can get those wolves pushed off the middle and get them down as quick as possible. The werewolf phase does last for a while, and they linger even after that phase is done if you haven't killed all the werewolves. This ordeal has 2 waves of the wolves that I mentioned, and then there's a boss wave as well. At the end, if you kill the boss once, it'll spawn another boss. So make sure you kill as much as you can within the time limit to get extra points. Again, I enjoyed Well of Souls. It's probably my 3rd favorite ordeal, honestly. But you really need to have a team and a strategy and understand how this one works to really be efficient to get the most rewards possible. Gavony offers another ordeal, and this one is called Geralf's Charge. This one is a tower defense type of ordeal. So if you like tower defense games, you'll feel right at home here. There is a main node that is a battery that you have to charge up. You only get points when you're charging this battery. And the way to charge it is there's 3 charging stations throughout the map that you have to activate and defend. The biggest piece of advice and one really cool thing that you should note here is if one node is going down really fast, obviously try to defend it best you can. But if you know that it's a lost cause, just let it go, wait about 10 seconds, and you can turn that charging station or that node back on to continue charging the battery. This one's really good in a group if you can just assign, because it's groups of 3 players, so you can assign 1 person to each node and have a reasonable amount of defense there. Again, Geralf's Charge is a tower defense ordeal, so if you like tower defense, you'll feel right at home here. I kind of enjoyed it. It's probably more enjoyable than some of the other ordeals, and it's definitely worth checking out. There's also 2 gates that you can keep up so that you can keep them out of the main node, but the main focus here is keeping those 3 charging stations running at all times. Last but not least, we have Banalia. This is the white magic plane, and this one has another 2 ordeals that you can do for a total of 10 ordeals across all regions, like I mentioned at the start of the video. The very first ordeal in Banalia is called Flight from the Cabal. This is an escort mission that has 2 different lanes that'll have you defending NPCs and getting them to the other side of the map. With 2 lanes, it definitely makes sense to play this one in co-op. This one was one of my least favorite ordeals to play, just because the NPCs die so quick, and in solo, it's a real pain in the butt to be jumping around the map at all times. Definitely you want to co-op this one. But basically you have these 2 lanes that you have to make sure you have cleared of monsters so these NPCs can make it through. What makes this one really annoying is on your overlay map, it doesn't show you where the monsters are. So you have to just be running around and hope you find monsters to kill. Like there's enough monsters to kill, but it's just finding exactly where you need to be at all times. Last but not least, we have Purge of Darkness. This is the last ordeal that we have to talk about. And Purge of Darkness is going to have you cleansing different altars. This one's a little bit different than the other ones because once all of the altars are cleared, I think there's 5 in this ordeal. Once you've cleansed all of them, there's no more objectives. It's just killing monsters for the rest of the time that is left during the ordeal. Remember, you have a 10-minute time limit. So if you cleanse all the altars within 5 minutes, you have 5 minutes left to just run around killing monsters, which is definitely not ideal or efficient in my opinion. So what I recommend for Purge of Darkness is to just kill everything along the way. Don't rush cleansing the altars. Just kill everything along the way. Make sure you do get all 5 altars down though, just so you can get extra points. But the main objective here is just killing as much and as quick as possible while just kind of doing those altars along the way. There is a boss at the end of this ordeal that does not give you points. This one was relatively easy and I kind of enjoyed it. It kind of gave me more of that dungeon feeling instead of a strategic feeling. That's going to wrap it up for all of the ordeals within Magic Legends. I hope that you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. I know that when I hit the end game, I was looking around and I'm like, I don't know what to do. There's these ordeals that give me these tiered rewards, but I don't know which one's fun, which one sucks, which one's a waste of time. And I did them all so that I could make this video and get that exact information to you. So I hope you found this video useful. If so, don't forget to like, subscribe, Ring that bell to get notified when I post new videos here on the channel. We also do stream primarily on the weekends here on YouTube. We have an upcoming stream playlist. Go in there, set those reminders to make sure you get notified when I do go live. I appreciate you all for your continued support, and don't forget, your view alone means the world to me. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.